your side. This is News 12, first at 5.
What happens time and time again? Meanwhile, people are wondering what it will take to stop people from hitting the Olive Road Bridge. We're digging for those answers coming up next.
After nearly 3 years of lawsuits and rivalry, Live Golf and the PGA Tour are merging.
The announcement coming down today with some of golf's biggest names responding along with Augusta National Golf Club. In a statement, Augusta National says what makes golf special is its rich history and ability to bring people together. We are encouraged by this announcement, which represents a positive development in bringing harmony to men's professional golf. They say Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters Tournament are and will remain devoted to developing the game and celebrating its many virtues.
But boy, social media almost
blowing up.
Melted today. Yeah, coming up in our next half hour, our sports director Dan Booth joins us live in the studio to break down the details of this merger, plus reaction from players. It has been explosive today.
It has been explosive. A lot of players weighing in here, a lot more to come, and we're going to learn a lot here in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
Shirley.
and nobody saw this coming.
No, absolutely not.
No one
we
saw
heard
this
about
coming.
It and our jaws dropped as well, so
yeah,
it's going to be a lot.
Crazy stuff today.
Switching gears to weather, now taking a live look outside the Bobby Jones Expressway. A hot afternoon for us, Chris.
Yeah, it has been a very hot day for anyone out there actually playing golf across the area. So far rain-free, but we have had storms pop up in the last couple of hours. Kind of a stormy view in our Grovetown I-20 camera, although there's no rain falling there at the moment. Temperatures have cooled off a little bit in response to the outflow ahead of those showers moving into the area. Now at 87 degrees. We were in the 90s a little while ago. Here's a look at where the rain is on First Alert Weather Radar Network, and we're not talking about severe weather, but there are some very heavy downpours, maybe some pea-sized hail, a little tiny hail coming out of there, and some 30 or 40 mile per hour wind gusts, but nothing in the way of severe weather. Our stormiest weather across Richmond County, that'll cross on over the river and into South Carolina in the next 30 minutes or so. But the rain's going to die down quickly when we lose the heating of the day tonight. Wednesday looks a lot like today. We'll get into the 90s and then have about 30% chance of afternoon storms and high temperatures tomorrow in the 90s, and kind of a cool day out there for your Thursday. For the rest of this evening, we'll be in the low to mid 80s as we head towards sunset. 91, the high temperature, not a bad weekend. Rain chances on the high side on Thursday. We'll have more details on this forecast in just a moment. Right now, it's time for a first check on traffic.
And now, First Alert Traffic.
And here's a live look at our Wrdw and I-20 camera. Usually that's a big bottleneck this time of the day. Give it a few more minutes. It probably will be as we head closer to 5:30. But looking good out there on Riverwatch Parkway and I-20. You saw the Grovetown camera just a moment ago. Things moving pretty smoothly over there. Of course, if that does change, we'll be the first to let you know. But looking pretty good out there on the roads at 5:03 this afternoon.
All right, thanks for that, Chris. A man is dead after he was hit by a car on Deansbridge Road at Ridge Road in Augusta. The coroner says 63-year-old John Cummings was riding his electric wheelchair when a car hit him Saturday evening. He died at the hospital. No word yet on whether the driver is facing any charges. The coroner says there will not be an autopsy.
The U.S. Postal Service is offering a $50,000 reward for information about a man who robbed a mail carrier over the weekend in Augusta. This happened Sunday afternoon on Carmel Circle. A postal employee says a man wearing red shorts, a red hoodie, and a ski mask approached her and pointed a knife at her chest, demanding to get the keys to her mail truck or he'd kill her. The postal worker gave the suspect the keys and he drove away towards North Lake Road. If you know anything about this armed robbery, call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office.
Olive Road Bridge in Augusta. It is well known for its history of low clearance and crashes.
And despite adding signs and other warnings, another truck crashed into the bridge just weeks ago, reigniting discussions on why this keeps happening. Now, time after time, we see pictures of a truck stuck underneath the Olive Road Bridge. We've talked with the city about ways to prevent this from happening. The city's traffic and engineering department tells me that they have over 30 warning devices on either side of the bridge. They say the state law only requires 2 devices on each side, so they say They're going above and beyond the standard here. They also say that this is the railroad's problem, not an Augusta problem, because they own the bridge and the road under it. The city has no control over what happens here.
Local government, Augusta, we have very little say in what they do and what they can and can't do. Even the state government has very little say in what they can and can't do. And so they're sort of off by themselves, regulated by the highest level of government.
And coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we talk with the city about the possibility of creating a new way to alert drivers to the dangers of that low-hanging bridge.
Because it just keeps happening. The South Carolina Supreme Court says it is speeding up the process to hear a lawsuit on the state's new abortion ban law. They'll hear the case at the end of this month. Last month, Governor Henry McMaster signed the 6-week ban into law. About an hour later, it was temporarily blocked by a lawsuit filed by several South Carolina abortion providers. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson says he appreciates the court's urgency.
Governor Henry McMaster is again urging South Carolina lawmakers to toughen up penalties for illegal gun possession and reform the state's bond process.
Now another prominent South Carolina leader is putting his weight behind that call to action too. Our State House reporter Mary Green has the details.
Right now, South Carolina's General Assembly is in a special session that doesn't have an end date. Governor Henry McMaster says lawmakers should not adjourn for the year until they get these bills to his desk.
Close that revolving door. How long we gonna wait?
It's a plea Governor Henry McMaster has been making for months. On Tuesday, he was joined by State Trooper B.A. Frazier, who was shot in the face during an April traffic stop in Bamberg County. Investigators say the accused shooter had a stolen gun and was out on bond in Georgia.
He never should have been stopped for speeding that night by Trooper Frazier. He never should have made contact with him. He should have been out there. That's when you really realize this is just senseless. This just shouldn't happen.
The governor is urging lawmakers to toughen up the penalties for possessing illegal guns. The House put these penalties in a larger bill it passed that would allow adults in South Carolina to carry guns without needing a permit or training. The Senate has yet to debate that controversial permitless carry bill, and instead it added the illegal gun penalties to another bill to criminalize fentanyl trafficking. But those penalties would only apply to people convicted of certain drug crimes. McMaster says that's not enough.
Why limit it to just fentanyl crimes? How about rape? How about assault and battery? How about murder?
The governor is also urging lawmakers to get a bond reform bill to him and close what he's characterized as a revolving door of people who commit crimes while out on bond for other crimes.
We know that these career criminals are going to do it again.
This week, South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson and SLED Chief Mark Keel penned this letter to lawmakers saying they need to pass this bill to establish much-needed standards for electronically monitoring people out on bond.
When someone fails to do their job by monitoring violent criminals who are back out in society when they're out on bond, that we actually can hold them accountable.
The bond reform bill is closer to the finish line as it's already passed both the House and the Senate, but in different forms. A smaller group of lawmakers has been tasked with negotiating a compromise, but a meeting of that committee has yet to be publicly scheduled. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
The governor called lawmakers into this special session last month, but the legislature can go home when it chooses. When Governor McMaster was asked today if he'd call lawmakers back again to Columbia if they adjourned without finalizing these bills, he says it is something they're contemplating.
Chilling 911 phone calls released from a mass shooting earlier this year in Columbia, South Carolina.
911, where's the emergency?
On March 29th, gunfire rang out and led to 9 injured teens at the Meadow Lake Park. Just minutes before the shooting, a mother at the park to pick up her daughter made the first call.
I'm at Middle Lake Park. There's a bunch of kids here from the high school. They had prom tonight. They're out here in the dock at the park, smoking weed and getting smugglers. There's a bunch of people out here. So these kids are in some big trouble.
How many people?
Over 100.
Richland County deputies have arrested 4 people so far for their involvement in the shooting and say there could be more suspects in the future.
Heads up, a 4th rabid raccoon, a 4th, has been found in Columbia County. The latest raccoon was found off Dozier Road in Appling. The Columbia County Health Department wants to remind you to make sure your pets are up to date on their rabies vaccine, Avoid feeding your animals outside and make sure your children know to not approach them.
Wild animals they don't know, they don't want you to approach them, and keep them far away from them as well. Well, eyesight is a privilege that not everyone can afford. Coming up, how one nonprofit is helping kids set their sight on the future. Chris?
And we do have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that does affect Aiken County, Barnwell County, Burke, and Richmond County. Possibility for quarter-size hail. We'll track this thunderstorm and some other showers around the area on First Alert Weather Radar Network when we come back. And welcome back. Time now is 5:12. Our weather headlines are calling for another hot day out there for you Wednesday. Cool and damp weather moves into the forecast on Thursday. That'll be something to look out for. And then mainly dry weather, at least for the first half of the weekend. So Saturday looks like a beautiful, cooler day than what we saw out there today. As for your Wednesday, it'll be pretty much a repeat of what we saw out there today. 10 o'clock temperatures at 79 degrees. Not a bad early afternoon to lay out by the pool, but by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like we are seeing now, we will have a few scattered showers and thunderstorms with a west wind tomorrow at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Current temperatures where you have not had the rain are definitely on the hot side for relatively speaking compared to the past few weeks, with 90 currently in Waynesboro and Millen. Rain cooled there in Gibson. Your temperature just at 77 degrees. Now we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning I was telling you about a moment ago. This one is for eastern Richmond County, the northern piece of Burke County, and crossing over there into South Carolina. The main threat for this one is the possibility of some larger hail, maybe up to the size of quarters. They are moving off to the east at about 25 miles per hour. So I put a storm track on here, and that'll move into the Snelling area just after 6 o'clock in South Carolina, and Walkinshaw about 5:13. But mainly across the eastern tip of Richmond County, crossing over into western Allendale County in a little while. Another shower off to the west of Thompson is moving southeast. So if you live in the northern portion of Thompson, it looks like that shower will miss you. You can probably hear the thunder rumbling off in the distance. And the showers are kind of lined up there across northern Georgia, but when the sun goes down, these are going to dissipate very quickly. Beyond that, we'll watch for this cold front to press to the south on Wednesday. It'll move into the area Wednesday night, and especially into Thursday morning. That'll be our best chance for rain, and it's also going to bring us another round of mild weather by Thursday, Friday, and headed into the first part of the weekend. For the rest of your Tuesday evening, this is 7:30 tonight. Again, most of those showers out there right now will have dissipated by that point, and we'll have dry skies when you wake up on Wednesday. Temperatures tomorrow morning about where they were out there this morning in the mid-60s. Tomorrow afternoon, about like today, a 30% chance of afternoon storms. The ones we do have, one or two could be on the strong side, so keep an eye out for that. High temperatures tomorrow into the 90s, but then we really cool off on Thursday. This is Thursday morning. Our wettest weather could actually be earlier in the day along that front, and then would dry out some later in the day. But look at those temperatures, mostly in the 70s during the day on Thursday. Our forecast tonight, a 30% chance of evening storms until sunset tonight, about 8:35. Low temperature is about 66 tonight in Waynesboro. A hot one tomorrow, partly sunny. 30% chance of afternoon storms in Gibson. Your high 93, about 90 in Allendale, 91 tomorrow in Bamberg. Here is your 7-day forecast. Right now, we're going to hold the chance of rain Thursday at 40%, mainly early in the day. However, we may bump that up a little bit as it gets closer. Then dry weather Friday and Saturday, 58, nice and cool Saturday morning, but warming into the 90s again by Sunday and Monday.
All right, Chris, thanks for that. Think about it. The ability to see properly, to have glasses or wear contacts, it's a privilege that not everyone has access to.
That's why an Atlanta-based nonprofit called Prevent Blindness Georgia is on a mission to help bring the gift of vision to as many children as possible. Sawyer Bussey has the story.
We preserve sight and prevent blindness.
They work with children and with adults.
They can drive again. They can go back to work and feel like they're helping their family. They can go back and get their GED.
Recently, the nonprofit partnered with the Latin American Association and doctors from Georgia Eye Partners to gift vision care to as many children as possible.
Across the United States, 8% of all children will not pass their vision screening. Up in Whitfield County and Dalton, 19% did not pass.
Students who needed glasses received 2 pairs, one for school, one for home.
We actually shine a light at the eye and figure out, based on how the light is moving, putting different lenses in front of the eye, what their prescription for glasses should be.
It takes a refractive picture of the pupils, and so there's your measurement.
Yeah, that looks like my contacts.
See, you have your contacts in, so that means you passed.
The deal is that this is more than just giving kids a pair of glasses.
It's the difference between being able to see the board and answer the questions or read their paper to study. As these kids get older, their academic performance is deeply tied to the ability to see. In fact, many children are misdiagnosed with learning disorders when in fact their problems are with their senses, often sight, sometimes with hearing.
The nonprofit is trying to raise money for the 2023-2024 school year so they can have the same event for families in Whitfield County. Sawyer Bussey, Atlanta News First.
Being able to see is definitely a gift. I wear glasses, so
I
understand.
wear contacts, and actually, I was diagnosed like way late, and my mom, I remember she cried because she had no idea that I couldn't see.
Yeah.
But for the first time, I saw leaves on the trees.
That's awesome. Well, when I was in school too, I mean, I was in elementary school. I didn't even know I need glasses either, so I would have a hard time seeing the board. My teacher noticed I was squinting a lot. I used to get headaches all the time, so it's great to have those glasses because it prevents that as well.
It's amazing what it can do, and it's so
It's
great.
such a little thing too.
It's such
You know,
a little
that you think
thing,
everyone would have access
but it's
to.
a huge thing.
Exactly.
It can change your life. Farming in the middle of an urban city. Just ahead, we'll meet one Georgia farmer and her push to keep the history of farming alive.
First Alert Radar.
Injured people is what they do. It's all they do. Call all nines.
A farm growing in the heart of urban Atlanta gaining national attention for helping teach others how to work on the land.
Let's take a look at how Tracy Hutchinson's at Patchwork Farms is keeping America's history of farming alive.
We've got lots of carrots. We're getting ready to replant arugula, a salad mix, baby greens. Farming is the lifeblood that keeps Jamila Norman going. These are pear trees and some fig trees here. She left her job as an engineer and started farming in 2010, buying this parcel in southwest Atlanta in 2016, and it's been growing ever since. Jamila's even gaining national attention, teaching others how to work the land on her Magnolia Network show, Homegrown. You see that? That is a carrot, a brand new one right there. This is where the fruits of labor really pay off for Jamila. On this 2-acre parcel of land, she grows more than 80 crops. It's the foundation of any civilization, right? And that was knowledge that we had, and we brought to this country, and the country utilized. Jamila's family is from the Caribbean, but she knows all too well the tainted history African Americans have with farming. During centuries of enslavement, blacks were forced to harvest cash crops like tobacco, cotton, and sugar. And once freed from slavery, racism and discrimination became continuous roadblocks for blacks trying to make a living from the land. You do have to mentally divorce yourself from that history, because I'm like, I own this land. I control what happens here, right? We can rest when we want to rest. I'm meeting a lot of young people that are coming back to it and super interested in it, and they see the value. So I'm inspired. I'm inspired for the future. I'm hopeful. I think we're moving in a great direction.
Patchwork City Farms is the star of an HBO show about transforming outdoor spaces called Homegrown, so make sure you check it out.
South Carolina getting $8 million in funding to preserve projects and efforts tied to the struggle of African Americans to gain equal rights. This money is coming from the National Park Service as part of the Historic Preservation Fund's African American Civil Rights Program. This funding will go towards 5 projects, including restoring the Booker T. Washington High School Auditorium on USC's campus in Columbia and preserving the historic Trinity United Methodist Church in Charleston.
Your Wednesday will be another hot day like today. Probably good news if you're hoping to head to the lake tomorrow. A westerly wind about like today at 10 to 15 with the water temperature now at 77. But we are tracking rain and thunderstorms on our First Alert Weather Radar network. We'll take a look at that and your 7-day forecast after the break. And And today's sunshade winner is Willie Curry from Grovetown, Georgia. If you want to enter, head to WRDW.com and go to the contest section of our website and enter to win.
There's a fun with Milton Rubin Superstore.
A severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for a thunderstorm now in Richmond County, crossing over into South Carolina. The main threat with that thunderstorm has been hail about the size of quarters. Another thunderstorm, really at this point, even stronger than that one, is headed into Waynesboro about 5:38. So in the next 10 to 15 minutes, you'll get a storm, especially north of town there in Waynesboro. And like the previous storm, that one could have some nickel, maybe quarter-size hail thrown in there with it. Off to the west, another shower moving off to the south of Thompson. That one is not severe in nature. So if you were thinking of cooking out tonight, go right ahead. Just check the radar on our First Alert weather app before you do that. We'll be 80 degrees at 8 o'clock. There's your 7-day forecast. 40% chance of rain. Kind of a cool day out there on Thursday.
All right, thanks for that, Chris. That's all the time we have. Stick with us. We have much more news and weather coming up after a short break.
Radar Network.
With up to 10 times the resolution